Okay, once again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you taking your time out, especially on Sunday, rainy Sunday, to come here and have a discussion about sustainability in fashion in Indonesia. So my name is Julius Kencana, Editor-in-Chief of Manual Jakarta, and I'll be moderating this talk. And as we all know, sustainability involves many different kind of factors. So today we'll be covering several of them. And if you have any questions, don't worry, we have time to go through that after the discussion. So without further ado, let us introduce our speakers. Can I have Wilson to start with?
Hi, my name is Wilson, and I'm a fashion designer, I guess. So the brand has been going on for about 2 years now. Still pretty new, still a lot of experiment and finding things out. Yeah, I guess.
Can I have Meiti?
My name is Meiti Sutandi. I'm representing Kencana, Batik Kencana. Glad to be here and invited.
Thank you for coming too.
Hello, my name is Imanzah Nur Hidayat from Fashion Revolution. I am the one who coordinated the Fashion Revolution movement for almost now it's the 5th year of our movement. I started out having a fashion startup on 2010. It's a globally curated t-shirt shop called Cultura. I'm the one who in the team as the curator. What we sold at the time is only the ethical fashion. So that's how I related to the fashion movement in the globally scene. So yeah, thank you for everyone who come and for British Council and Julius also.
Thank you too.
Hi everyone, my name is Camelia Harahap. I'm representing the British Council. Actually, the British Council has been collaborating quite a few programs on sustainable fashion, and one of which is in collaboration with Fashion Revolution as well. So I suppose I'll be speaking more about that later.
Hi everyone, my name is Helga. I'm a social entrepreneur and co-founder of Burgreens. Burgreens is an organic healthy fast food chain with 4 outlets in Jakarta, in Plaza Indonesia, Pondok Indah Mall, Dharma Wangsa, and Pacific Place. I'm not a fashion influencer. I guess I'm invited today because I'm a picky buyer when it comes to food and fashion. So yes, thank you for having me, Juju,
thank you,
everyone.
Helga. So, before we kick off the discussion, some of you guys may be wondering why is this event called Fashion Revolution Open Studio. So, maybe just give us a little bit of background before we kick off the discussion here. So, Mas Iman, could you please share with us briefly what Fashion Revolution is all about?
Our motto is pro-fashion protest. Pro-fashion, not anti-fashion, but we are pro-fashion. But still we do protesting in more positive ways. So what we do is we encourage people to get to know where is the source, the supply chain of brands and the clothes that we are wearing right now, or we have been collected all at our wardrobes at home or in the department store or in the showcase or in the workshop at Wilsen Willim. So we know how much the value of transparency. So that's why one of the latest initiative is called Fashion Revolution Open Studio. It started last year. There's a curated exhibition to encourage fashion designer to be more actively speaking to the public how they make the process end to end. Last year we have an opportunity to attend Wilsen Willim Fashion Open Studio also with British Council. So that spirits that the transparency is the key for us.
Thank you so much for a detailed explanation. So moving on to Cami, I mean, like, of course, apart from the spacious auditorium and awesome food, can you tell us a bit more about like the relationship between British Council and Fashion Revolution?
Okay. Well, so as many of you might already know, the British Council is UK's international organization for education and culture. And throughout the past 3 years, we've also been delivering this program called UK Indonesia, which is a 3-year program where we try to connect UK and Indonesian artists and organizations to collaborate, but also to showcase their collaborations in Indonesia and UK and internationally. So throughout the past few years, we've also been delivering a fashion program, which is in collaboration with Jakarta Fashion Week and Bekraf. And through this program, we've identified that sustainable fashion is actually one of the key areas that we feel is very, very significant in the development of the infrastructure, economy of Indonesia. And we felt that with the UK as well, there's quite a lot of research and innovations and basically lots of bodies of practice that has been developed within this certain area. So we feel it's quite an interesting sector for us to be able to kind of share our learnings and see where collaborations with Indonesia can take place. And basically, back in 2015, this kind of started off by us inviting a fashion advocate, as well as she's a film producer of this film. I don't know if any of you guys have watched it before, but it's called The True Cost, which is actually probably one of the most significant films that has came up from this fashion revolution work. So we brought Lucy Siegel over. Her name is Lucy Siegel. We brought Lucy Siegel over, and that kind of kick-started the conversation about sustainable fashion for our work. And ever since then, we also got to know about Fashion Revolution as a campaign, especially since the campaign actually started off in the UK. So that's quite relevant for us, of course. And through that, we've just been kind of slowly developing some work, some activities in collaboration with other organizations as well. So for instance, we've held 2 sustainable fashion forums at Jakarta Fashion Week. And we're happy to say that Jakarta Fashion Week is also quite interested in this area of work. We've also done Fashion Revolution activation in Senayan City, I think back in 2016. Where because understanding how Fashion Revolution, of course, is also a digital campaign, we kind of set an activation where people mall goers and general public can interact with the materials from Fashion Revolution and then upload them onto their social media in order to kind of create a viral effect for the Fashion Revolution campaign.
I mean, we have Meiti today with us. So, I mean, a few months ago, you and Wilsen Willim collaborated for a collection, which you guys can see over there. So, can you tell us a little bit about how this collaboration came about?
Actually, the collaboration was started because it was arranged by Plaza Indonesia Fashion Week. So, the Plaza Indonesia is actually matchmaking us. Okay. They are the matchmaker. So we were happy when Plaza Indonesia came to us and told us that Parang Kencana will be collaborating with Wilsen Willim, which we know it's uprising young designers. So we were really happy. And then we told Plaza Indonesia, yes, we'll be happy. And then Plaza Indonesia told us that it will be an exchange of like knowledge between us. Like, okay, we'll be giving the materials, like pieces of clothes for Wilson to work with. So we did that. And then I'm actually very happy, like Parang Kencana is very happy with the results because we really let Wilson to explore a lot with our materials. So we'll let him do whatever he wants with our materials. So, because as you may already know, if you see Parang Kencana fashion shows, what we show is not actually what normally you see in our stores, because we want people to see how batik can actually evolve with trends and also with fashion designs. And then I'm very happy with the results that presented by Wilsen.
So before we really move on to the sustainability talk, I just want to ask a question to Helga. I mean, you've been very vocal about ethical living. Why do you think, as a consumer, it is important to pay attention to this matter? Just share with us briefly.
Right. So I think in a capitalist world, we see human on top of everything, right? On top of animals and environmental impact. Whereas when we talk about sustainability, and we need to talk about sustainability because right now we are consuming 1.5 times of the earth, meaning that we have used the 50% of the resources that are supposed to be safe for our future generations. We need to see human, animals, and environmental aspects, all the living beings in the ecosystem, in a circle. So I think this conversation is very important because we cannot afford not consuming more sustainably.
Okay. Thank you so much. By the way, I really love your top.
Thank
it's
you.
Very nice.
This is from a responsible company.
Okay, awesome.
Foto Raja Melo.
Okay. So, I mean, let's move on to the real, of course, we've been doing the real talk, but let's really move on to the discussion. So, Wilsen, you said that you started your label 2 years, around there, right? So, I'm just curious, how transparent is your label when it comes to the welfare of the workers that created your clothes?
I felt right now I have come to the closest to transparency as I can. Sadly to say that I think for the first few months of my label, we kind of didn't practice it as much because, of course, as a designer, when you just started, your biggest concern is that our brand, like, can we present the products to the market? So we didn't actually focus too much on the welfare of the worker. But then there is one incident that actually makes me and my partner started seeing the situation very differently, which is one of my sewer suddenly gone missing for 2 weeks, and then we try to find out what actually happened. Why is he gone? So apparently his pregnant wife needed to go through surgery to get the baby out, but then I guess that's the word, and sorry, give birth, okay. Give birth, yeah. But then there was never a deal between me and my sewer. We pay them per piece, and then of course it's like a partnership. They didn't actually work for me. It's more of I give them order and they do it, and I pay per piece, and I do not limit them that hey, you just have to sew for me. I mean, they still work with other people. Even now they mostly work with me. Almost the whole year they work with me, and so the healthcare and then the housing and the situation was never one of our responsibility. And then we kind of find out that the baby didn't deliver safely. It's all just because of small money, It's so he couldn't afford the 10 million to had the surgery to get the baby out, to give birth. So yeah, I think since then I've been practicing a more different standard in their welfare, as in we help with the health situation right now. I mean and also we do help with some renovating their house and stuff. I mean if they needed the money, we said that we always establish this with our worker, that money is not an issue. If you need it, please let us know. I felt that's one of the part, and then I've been raising the pay every single season that I work with them, because I want them to earn enough for their family, and I do not want the whole sewer community to be slowly gone because they're underpaid. So I want to let them know that, hey, actually you can earn enough money to support your family, and I'm willing to pay as long you're willing to learn and willing to deliver. So I guess that's my way of being transparent about it.
Okay. That's good to know. Currently your label is stocked internationally, and in Indonesia your label is stocked in Good Step. Currently you don't have flagship store right? So, I mean, I'm just curious, like, when you don't have your own flagship store, how do you make sure that this message get across to the customer? Because you know that when you're stuck in a boutique, sometimes the salespeople, you know, they might not know what is it about, and customer might not be able to know about this thing that you do.
So of course, I felt that this kind of progress is not exactly like an overnight thing. You know, it's like delivering the message, and there is so much going on with like starting your own new brand. Like I think one of the things that I was really happy to do was last year we did the open studio. I could actually like deliver my message to like a handful of people, letting them know that there's actually like a different standard in sewing. Like you should go for the durable clothings. I mean, like so I was able to tell that, and I'm really glad. And back to the whole sustainable thing. For me, I just want to briefly explain what I feel about sustainability. Like sustainability, it's like the word of it is like beauty. It's like it's different in the eyes of the beholder, and like in every country, the standard is different. And then so that word itself is very tricky. I do not want to tell the world that, hey, Wilsen Willim is a sustainable brand, because like you don't say that. It's like saying, hey, I'm Wilson, I'm really good looking. Like, what do you think? It's actually a bit like cringeable, don't you think? So so I did not want to use that powerful word to let the whole world know. I mean, like for me, it's more of like I go directly to the people who actually am willing to know about it. If they ask me, I'll let them know. But then like I do not want to use the word sustainable as a campaign to my brand. But then if you ask me about the practicing, I try my best to be as sustainable as possible with my brand.
So do you, I mean, consider the same factor, let's say when you were approached to collaborate with Parang Kencana, do you make sure that like you guys share the same value before you decided to do this collaboration?
I mean, like, I think I was very happy to be collaborated with Parang Kencana because of they did like an amazing work with artisan, and then like you do not have to ask the question like, hey, are you sustainable? Because when you look at the product of Parang Kencana, you know it's mostly handmade. The woven, the batik, every single part is it's handmade. And like I mean, like during that same period of time, I was also asked to collaborate with another brand, a batik brand, but they're doing print, so you can actually straight away see the difference, like which one has a more sustainable value between stuff that are made with hands and stuff that are made by machines. So the moment Parang Kencana asked me, I know this brand. I mean, like I did the research and I know the product, so it's definitely there. That's why there is no question asked when I did it.
So for Bu Meiti, Parang Kencana has been around for more than 20 years. That's like older than some of you guys here.
Yes.
So I mean, how is the brand? How does the brand keep on making sure that human welfare continue to be met within the company?
Okay, Parang Kencana was established in 1992, so it's our 26 years, doing this work. Like when we talk about welfare, it's not just monetary. It's the whole well-being of everyone's working with you. So we're making sure that none of our employees are working under the minimum wage determined by the government. And also by talking about their well-being, we also concern about their health. That's why what we try to do, we educate them of being safe when you work. Like, of course, making batik, the coloring itself, and doing batik with canting malam, especially on the coloring part. Yeah, when you do the finishing, sometimes it involves spraying, and when it involves spraying, I would encourage all the artisans that do that have to use protective equipment. We provide the protective equipment like mask, and they have to wear their boots when entering the spraying booth, and making sure that they're well protected. Of course, not easy for us to tell them to do it, because none of them are really concerned about their own health. So we have to keep educating them and then making sure they do it. Otherwise, I don't want them to work with us because it's not good for their health. They have to know, they have to care about themselves first, and then we make sure that they do wear it. Sometimes, we have supervisors that making sure it happen. Well, some employees there are sometimes, being naughty, and then they try not to, but when we see it happening and they say, no, this is the practice that you have to do because it's not good for your health. We want you to work not only for us, but you work for your own family too. Your family wants to see you forever, if possible. So yeah, that's what we did. It's not just monetary that you're paying them enough. You just have to make sure that they're educated enough to know what's good for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So am I right to say that when you make sure that your employees receive the right welfare, does that add on to the operation cost?
Sure. Well, I think when we talk about operation cost, it's included because we have to make sure they've got the trainings and everything. And then with Parang Kencana works, it's all handmade. I think sometimes when you put everything into the value of your work, sometimes people think, well, batik is expensive because basically it's relative. Depends on how you see it. If you see the amount of hours that were put into it, and we have to really care about their well-being, I think it's relative. Expensive or not expensive is relative.
Okay. So
Right.
for Wilson, do you think this kind of thing would add on extra burden for young label?
What thing?
We're making sure that your employees receive welfare and the right welfare.
I think it's not that much. Like
Okay.
Meti said, for a young label to practice like a good environment, it's not much. You can do it, I believe.
Okay.
According to the level of how much you can afford to being at least ethical, and then try to be meeting the standard living of people.
Okay. So the next question I have is for either Kemi or Mas Iman. So how do you guys reach out to young labels to help them to be aware of this issue in terms of the welfare?
I think I mentioned briefly about a program that the British Council is running as well called Indonesia Fashion Forward. And through that program, which is supported by Bekraf and Jakarta Fashion Week, we run a capacity building program for young designers and young labels. And basically through that program, we also try to inject as many sustainability issues into the curriculum as possible. And I think initially it was quite difficult for young labels to understand the significance of sustainability with it for their own business. And of course, I can totally understand that, especially since perhaps in the education systems here, maybe even in the mainstream media and basically in the public life, these kind of topics aren't exactly discussed about widely. So it's quite difficult for people to understand that it's a thing. And as you can see, even in the kind of fashion industry, there's these kind of seasonalities. Why do you have to create 2 seasons in a year, for instance? And I think that's kind of how the fashion industry has been developing and has been operating for the past maybe 40, 50 decades, basically. So it is something that for a lot of people it's quite difficult. But we then kind of see that actually for a lot of Indonesian designers and perhaps even for Indonesian culture itself, we've been practicing a lot of slow living, kind of slow fashion practices. And a lot of people don't actually realize that, because what they realize is just that, for a young label, it's really difficult for us to get, a piece of fabric on time. And if we get like an order from a retail store or something, it's really hard for us to talk to the tailors to say, we need this for this amount of time. Because actually, when you kind of look back to our culture in Indonesia, with batik and with all the traditional fabrics and textiles, it does take a long time to develop and to produce. And it's okay for it to take that long, because there's a process, and you can't exactly push the process. So we've been trying to kind of raise those kind of issues and thoughts into the curriculum. And I think for a lot of young designers, they've actually realized like, actually this is easier than I thought. And I guess it's just a matter of how they might be able to switch their perspectives.
Okay. So it's all about process when it comes to sustainability. So for Helga, as a consumer, do you often consider these points? For example, like if you go to your store, do you harass the salespeople like, who make these clothes? Do you know who make this? And do you ask these kind of questions?
I did my research before I go to the stores, because usually when I ask questions in the stores, not all the SPGs are educated. There are 3 things that I usually consider when purchasing fashion items. First, it has to be cruelty-free, so no animal products, because United Nations in 2010, I think, has produced a report, right, saying that animal agriculture is the leading cause of climate change. Even though leather products are usually using by by product, yeah. Is it by product? Like by products, right? When the animals are killed for food, they use the leather for fashion. But as a matter of fact, that there are some countries and some areas that create animal agriculture for the sole purposes for fashion industry, and that has a very heavy and environmental impact, as well as they don't really put ethical practices into what they do lah, gitu. So that's the first one. The second one is I choose natural products as much as possible, or products with responsible waste management, because I also started learning that not all natural products or natural dyes are created equally. For example, the natural dye for black colors in Indonesia is arang kan, karat. Karat is what? Yeah, and that's very dangerous for the health of the welfare. It increases tetanus rates kan, apalagi orang Indonesia, as Bu Meiti said, that they're not very SOP driven gitu kan, so they're not using the right protectors. The same thing as indigo kan, indigo is big yeah, in fashion industries right now, but not all indigos are good for the environment and for the animals within the river, because there are 2 types of how you process the indigo color. If you use, I forget exactly the name, but if you use hydro apa gitu ya, mungkin Ibu tahu atau Wilson tahu, like to make the color thick. To make the color thick, it actually when you actually pour the waste into the river, it absorbs oxygens, and it's very bad for the fish and other animals within the river. Whereas if you use the other technique, then it's more ethical, environmental friendly. And the third one is the ethical practices for the for the workers. So as a very realistic consumer, I think my wardrobe is a mix of like products that I purchase from responsible companies like this one. I always think and I do my research well when I buy products that are pretty premium. For me, premium means above 500K. But I do still go to fast fashion companies sometimes to buy very basic products that I can use for a long time. Like these jeans, I got this, or like not jeans, but these pants, I got this from like a fast fashion store, and it's been in my cupboard for 5 years. So I do ask questions, not to the SPGs though, like I did my own research, but I try to apply it as much as possible without causing me to overstress myself when it comes to purchase.
Okay. So, I mean, that means that if we see you wearing something, that means that you pass your test.
That's so much pressure, man.
No, just kidding. So, I mean, moving on to the environmental aspect. I mean, of course, we know environmental is not just like one thing; it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
So, for Wilson, I just want to know, what do you prioritize in your label when it comes to being environmentally sustainable?
I think what I prioritize the most is durability of the clothes, and then of course the quantity. Actually, the quantity is very tricky because it's one of the most tempting situation when you come to having a fashion label, because like the more you produce, the cheaper it gets. You know, because like when you think about like, oh, I have a lot of quantity, I can store it. It's no problem. Can use it later. But then for me, I felt that I want to produce enough, and then I want to make sure that every stuff is durable. I don't want to see people throwing away my stuff, you know, like I want them to be able to wear it in like 10 years. That's why one of the main goal with the Open Studio last year was to also let people know that, hey, actually fixing clothes is one of the easy part in this. It's very easy. It takes like less than 5 minutes to fix your, I don't know, like your jeans that has holes and stuff. So that's one of the goals. So for me, environmentally, it's the durability and the quantity, because it's very, very hard to achieve like a very high percentage of environmental sustainable.
But so far, what are the sustainable in terms of environmental that you have done? For example, like maybe it's the fabric that you use and...
Okay. Here's the problem though. It's like when it comes to fabric, sad to break the bubble, but there is no 100% sustainable fabric, because like the fabric changes every day. I mean, like the knowledge of sustainable fabric changes every single day. It's so fast moving, and then the value is also different. Like right now, one of the most durable fabric that you can use is actually linen and cotton. That's like one of the most durable. But then again, when you are wearing cotton or producing cotton and linen in Indonesia, it's unsustainable because and not eco-friendly, because you're creating carbon footprint, because we don't grow cotton here. You see what I mean? And then like actually, surprisingly, the most sustainable fabric that you can find in Indonesia is actually viscose. If you know what is viscose rayon, it's like this pants that you buy in Bali, the one with, those kind of pants. They're very, very cheap because they are made in-house. And then polyester is actually one of the most sustainable fabric in Indonesia because we produce it here. You see what I mean? But at the same time, it's unsustainable because polyester and viscose is extremely undurable. You know, they easily, I mean, like exposed to heat, they just got torn and holes everywhere just because of heat. That is why I think fabric is one of the trickiest part with environment and like cotton. Even though you're saying that, okay, so cotton is sustainable in India and Africa because they farm it there, but then like the darkest part behind it is that cotton involves slavery and then like destroying the soil because of the acidic property. And then like I still remember one of the big break in sustainable fashion was about I think 2 years ago, when bamboo cotton was one of the most talked about fabric because it is like antibacterial it has an antibacterial property, and then like it's also very durable. So I felt, but then one company in China actually let go information that actually the making of bamboo cotton takes like 10 times the chemical of like making a normal cotton. So that's one of the big issue. And lastly, of course, I think the cutting part. It has to do a lot with the pattern, like how you design the clothes. I think the pattern also works for the environmental, because like if you are being extremely unnecessary with the design and with the usage of fabric, that could also be damaging. I mean, like, do you need like an extra flare dramatic clothes? Not really, you know what I mean? So I think like the pattern is one of the most important part. I mean the draft, not pattern as in motifs, but the pattern of the clothes, the cuttings, Okay.
So for Meiti, what do you prioritize to when it comes to Parang Kencana in terms of being environmentally friendly?
Well, where we are based, we actually have our factory in Tangerang, and then where we always research what the place where we're gonna work at. We want to make sure that the place is actually supported by the government, that it has nearby sewage water treatment. And we also have some workshops in other cities, like let's say Pekalongan. In Pekalongan, we know there are like 3 IPAL. IPAL to instalasi pengolahan air limbah. So we make sure that where we are is also the government is also supporting the water treatment. So of course we have to know how to do it internally as well. So we make sure that we do our own internal water filter. We are not saying that our products is not using chemical, of course, especially batik. They are not using 100% natural dye.
Like the spraying.
Like Parang Kencana is not using 100%. Not every coloring we use natural dye. We have some collection that 100% natural dyes, but then probably it's only 20% of our products. The rest we still use chemical. I have to be honest. Yeah. Otherwise, you won't see this kind of colors, because you know that like natural dye produces certain colors only. That even the red cannot be very bright red, or blue cannot be very you could tell indigo blue. That's brown is also not very like dark brown or very vibrant brown. You couldn't really see it in natural dyes. So I have to be honest that we still use chemical, and most chemical that we use is mostly powder. Powder, and then when you dissolve powder, it's powder colors. It's not 100% dissolved. So there are certain residue of the powder inside the water. So what we do internally, it's we do our own internal water filter. We put air kapur, ya. I don't know what it is in English. So we use that. So so the powder will be at the bottom of it, and then the liquid part we could filter. You know, like we take out the powder part, and then we put it in a certain container, and we give it to the waste plant nearby where we are.
Okay.
So that's what we did. So we want to be at least we care about the environment, so we do all we can, and then we also hoping that the government also concerned, and then helping the industrial companies, you know, like making sure that there is a waste treatment plant in many locations as possible.
Okay.
So that really helps us as a company, you know, to be more environmentally sustainable.
Okay, that's a very interesting point.
Yeah.
So for Mas Iman, so from Fashion Revolution, you know, when you guys doing this movement to teach labels to be environmentally sustainable, so do you also give them, let them know that the realistic point of view? Because for like Parang Kencana, she said that like for the dye, it can be 100%.
Yeah, it's very, very complex.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, as we have heard from others. The main point is we have now in the information era is the customer journey, right? The journey of Helga as a buyer, as consumer, that she did her homework searching on the internet, supposed to be, or on WhatsApp somebody. Hey, do you know this brand? So and let's say also the journey from the designers like Wilsen, who wants to choose and select where the fabrics will be sourced from, and also the journey of producer like Parang Kencana, who have a lot of consideration, not only about the the fabric, but also that binding to environment. Also about the site venue that being secure or by the government's laws to make it secure. So that's why based on the customer journey, we at Fashion Revolution already have the Fashion Transparency Index. You can search at our website. Last year, our 2017 Fashion Transparency Index, we gather the data from the 100 brands. So there's our methodology that the first methodology is we follow the ethical index by organization names Ethical Consumers, and for the next year we took the leadership, and we create our own Fashion Transparency Index, still collaboration with Ethical Consumer and other organizations. What we do is we send like a questionnaire to 100 brands, and they have to disclose all the source, all the tier 1 manufacturing supplier, or tier 2 or third tier, where their source, let's say the bamboo, cotton bamboo, or other chemical that affecting the environment. So our intention is not to judge how transparent each of the brands, but what we need to know is something that reflecting to the customer journey, like Helga. So Helga and others and all of us could find the fastest decision on choosing the right products, the right fabrics, and the right treatment into environment. So we disclose all the data. Next week we will roll out this year 2018 Fashion Transparency Index. It consists in addition of 50 brands, so there will be 150. That's what we do.
So moving on, to Kemi, from British Council, you guys have done actually a lot of events to promote this. So what are the challenges that you guys face? Because we know that like when we want to talk about sustainability, it tends to be very serious, and people might not be drawn to this kind of topic. So just share, for example, like one of such event and such the challenges that you guys face.
I totally agree with you, because I feel like personally, even for me, this topic is so complex and complicated that it takes a long time to really, really be able to understand what the root of the issue is. And I think for us, because the British Council actually operates, we are an international organization, but our kind of main focus is in arts and creative industries. And even this year, our main focus is a lot on collaborations and showcasing. So we're not exactly like an NGO that perhaps advocates for certain topics or issues, but we tend to see issues like this as an interesting area for us to incite discussions and maybe conversations around. And so we feel that in terms of activities and events, we tend to perhaps use arts or the medium of arts to kind of show and entice these kind of discussions. So for instance, through film, we can screen certain films that perhaps raise these certain issues. And actually, the British Council is working together with Fashion Revolution to develop a film package that has a couple of different documentaries and fictional films as well that talks about these issues. So it's not exactly like directly kind of telling them what to do, but through the medium of art, through the medium of film, for instance, we can then start a conversation about the root of the issue. And I would say that similar to what Mas Iman and Mas Iboy mentioned as well, there's kind of various perspectives on this issue of sustainable fashion. There's the perspective of the designer or the maker, and then there's a perspective of the consumer, someone like Helga, as well as perhaps the perspective of people who are in the industry itself. So, for instance, the companies, the government, the regulators, everybody who's kind of involved in making rules about this. We've actually also in the past supported activities where we can actually get policymakers also involved in this discussion. So back in 2016, when we had Jokowi was actually visiting the UK at that time for a state visit. He had a couple of ministries as well coming with him to the UK. And it was quite fortunate that at that time, it was also in April, that the Fashion Revolution was doing it's called Fashion Question Time, which is where they present to the UK Parliament about findings from their work. And we actually invited some of the delegations from Jokowi's kind of state visit from Indonesia to also attend that. So it's quite good that they're kind of open to, they're kind of exposed to these kind of informations and findings, and see how perhaps these ideas can also then come back to Indonesia and perhaps start impacting the policies and regulations here.
Okay, so bottom line is there has been much progress, even though it might not be as far as we want it to be, but at least there has been positive progress. So for Helga, do you recycle your clothes at all? Or I mean, not just recycle, but upcycle maybe. Once this pants of you has torn apart, you may turn into a skirt or something. Do you do that?
So what I do with my husband, it's our personal project, is that we try to buy less. So I don't know if Bakamel has screened this movie called The Minimalist. I think you totally should, because that echoes to what you guys have mentioned about durability and the importance of choosing quality and durable products to have less environmental impact. So we try to buy less, and buying less for us meaning that we only have, each of us has only one cupboard to fill in, and that's about 100 items, including like fashion items and beauty products. 100 items is not much, for females. It's actually very limited, but we try to do that. So whenever I buy new fashion items, which I do usually every 3 to 6 months, depending on the needs, I always take out one and give it to the charity organizations that we support, so they can sell it through garage sale. Upcycling, I don't do it as often as my husband. Max is a very not a greedy, but he doesn't buy stuff basically. Like he buys things every 3-5 years. I think he will have a good chat with you for sure. He recycles, he repairs. So his belt has been there for 7 years. It's so ugly. I would always tell him to, just change it. Just give it to someone who needs it, right? But he always repairs it. Also the shoes, everything. So I think that what we do is buy less, repair, and give it to organizations or whoever needs it the most. And try to have that personal limitation to buy things. The Minimalist movie is really inspiring. They basically it promotes having less things and create space for more important things in life, like meaningful connections, space, and I think we've been doing it, and we've been, feeling a lot happier as well. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I want to talk to you about this later.
Yeah.
So but here comes another question. It's sort of like confliction. If you make clothes to last, that means that customer will buy less, and what happened to the business then? If people, if buy a piece of top from you and can last for 10 years, and then how do you face that?
I felt that that's like one really good ideology as a designer is that you want to excessively sell your stuff because that's like your main income, but at the same time you kind of like it kind of sound ridiculous if you go to your customer, whoa, like buy less, you know, like do you actually need that? That's like a very unnecessary question to ask, right? But then like of course you establish like a certain quality and the prices, you know, it's like, hey, I really make this good clothes, and then like it's going to last for a very long time, you see what I mean? And like the design is so basic that like you don't excessively need it, you know what I mean? I always tell my client like, please buy what you need. I also tell my partner, I mean like people surrounding me, I was like, ngapain sih beli banyak-banyak, you know, like why do you have to buy so much, you know what I mean? And then like for me is that part of the designing is also like as a designer, are you designing like stuff that is like timeless, or are you doing like a trend kind of like thingy? Because the moment you go towards that trend direction, you start establishing like products that you're going to throw away once the trend is over. But then again, for me, as like I said, ideology and money, I still do need to make my money. I do have like a percentage of my items that are like based on trend, but I push more of my stuff that are timeless, that you can wear it every day and it's as functional as possible. So that's actually a very tricky question, like the quantity. And like I said, don't excessively produce also, you know, I mean, like if you don't produce that much, you have no reason to sell that much also, right? Yeah.
So what about you, Bumeti?
Well, lucky for me because it's batik, yeah. If you produce quality of batik with qualities, good quality, that means it's a good investment too. You could give it even to your daughter-in-law, and then they could actually pass on to generations after them. Because I remember my grandmothers, both of them have this kabaya encim, which is one of them, one of the kabaya on the day before my wedding. Apa midadoreni or whatever namanya itu. Yeah, I wore one of the kabaya encim from my mother-in-law, and then she said it's from her mother. So I'm wearing the kabaya encim, and then the kain, it's also from her grandmother. So I don't know, it's already 2 generations above me. So actually, if you produce a good quality items, then it could actually pass on, you know, to your daughter-in-law, yep. Then to your grandchildren, if it's a good quality item. I remember even I buy high street brands as well. T-shirt. I still have a T-shirt that I bought. It's a UK brand. It's very comfy. I'm still keeping in my cupboard, but my daughter doesn't want to use it. I said to her, I bought it when I was in college, and it's still in a good quality of, you know, T-shirt. Why don't you want to wear? No, it's too old. But then actually it just doesn't fit on me anymore. If it still fits on me, I would still wear it because it's not torn apart or anything. You know, I still keep it in my cupboard.
Okay. That's an interesting point. I mean, the point of like passing down to the next generation. But I mean, Wilson, you said that if a label produced based on trends, it's gonna be recycled. I mean, like put aside very quick, right? But but again, in fashion, things, you know, they go on a cycle. Who knows? It's gonna be trendy again. So don't throw it away, guys. Just keep it in a cupboard.
That's actually quite true.
Yeah.
Can I add to that actually? There is this international brand, very successful one called Patagonia. You guys know? Yeah. Oh, that's Patagonia.
Yeah.
There you go. So this brand actually enforced their campaign. Their latest campaign is to encourage consumers to buy less, and they actually take in the stuff from their the purchased stuff and repair it, or they can actually buy the used Patagonia clothes and rent it to students. So, which is very smart. So, because first they reduce the environmental impact, and second they can actually tap into a market who actually cannot buy their premium products at for new products, you know. But when they rent it or they buy the reused version, it becomes more affordable. and they're very profitable, and they even can make decisions such as, okay, so for this for tonight's sales, this will all go to this environmental group. So I think that's gonna be a very nice case study for around sustainability, and it's a living proof that brands can make money and actually encourage people to buy less.
Thank you for bringing that up. I think that's a very important point too. I mean, moving on from here, I mean, sustainability is, of course, is more than just environmental and the human part. It's also touch on the social, and by social, we can also talk about the identity, which, you know, in the form of traditions. So, for Wilson, do you think how important do you think it's for young labels to, you know, keep that in mind of like preserving traditions?
Okay, tradition is one of the trickiest part, because like when you come to tradition, is it like the way of doing it, or is it the technique and etc. And like I felt like even back in school, I wasn't really taught like the tradition that I was supposed to learn, because like when it comes to tradition, you wanna take the technique on what makes the production efficient. But then like there is also tradition that is going to be like a wall, a hindrance for being like an open-minded and creative as a designer. You know, like I think sticking to tradition is like a selective thing. Like you wanna take the thing that makes it faster. That, I mean, like those tailor has been like learning for hundreds of years. Why they do it that way? Because they have a reason. And then as a designer, you need to be like smart enough to know what are the aspects that you should take in, and what are the aspects that you should be open-minded with. You know, like don't stick to tradition when it comes to design, because you're gonna just ended up being traditional. But then like take the traditional techniques that actually makes it nice that way. You know what I mean? So it's a very selective. For me, in technique wise, I do follow tradition, but then like I'm like a very anti-tradition kind of person. I mean, like my teacher are even here. Some of them they know I never follow the rules, and I think like that's what makes a designer special, when you don't follow the rule and actually create your own tradition.
Okay, I guess. So for Bukmeti, you know, Parang Kencana has been around for more than 26 years, right?
Yep.
So you guys been focusing on batik, which is also about preserving tradition. So where does this commitment come from?
Up to today, we still commit to do batik in its true way of doing batik. Like we still use the hot malam panas, the hot wax. We don't use cold wax at all. And we still do coloring in traditional way. Like we roll it piece by piece using the bamboo, and then dip it, the clothes into the dye that we prepared for it. And then we use it, and then we roll it, making sure it's absorbed equally in that piece of clothes. And then we still only do hand-drawn batik or stamp batik. We don't use machine at all. So that's why that's the way we keep traditions. And then still, even though it's traditionally done, but our batik is quite modern as well, because we mix the patterns, the drawing itself. We still use our traditional motifs, but we mix it with modern motifs as well. We could actually do geometrical motifs, but if you know, batik has the isian. The isian probably, the shape is actually geometrical, the pattern, but the isi could be, you know, parang kecil, beras wutah, or whatever. We sort of like always mix traditional and modern.
Okay, so the next question is open to everyone here. Like, what do you think is the most difficult part when it comes to raising the awareness for this topic on sustainability? I mean, like for Helga too. I mean, you to your friend, like, what are challenges? Do you guys feel like you guys feel preachy about it, or?
Mbak Kamel, mungkin mau jawab dulu nggak sih? I think you do more. So what I do, I actually what I do to raise conscious living and ethical living awareness is through grassroots movements, right? At Burgreens, we do community events every month and the focus of the talks. Actually, the forms of the events are different. Yeah, there are sometimes movie screenings, farmers market, talks, discussions depending on our mood, but it all centers around health, wellness, and sustainability. For grassroots movement, I think you just have to have a lot of energy because the focus is about quantity. So people who come to Burgreens, I guess they're already pre-selected in some ways. They have certain consciousness level. So it's easy for us to educate them and just to put in more and more content to help them shift their behavior. So it's pretty easy, I would say, but it requires a lot of energy and consistency. And then we got, I think this year, we got a chance to work with UN, KLHK, and United in Diversity to basically roll out our event that we usually do at our restaurant into a larger public. So we just did it about a few weeks ago in Taman Menteng, and the reception was also very good. People were very excited. We can see that the awareness is there, and they're looking for more and more knowledge and product options. So they know that it's important to start having discussions about sustainable food, sustainable fashion, sustainable personal care, but they're looking for options that are easy to buy ya. Jadi for us it's the challenge is when we started in the beginning it was challenging, but now with the global trend going towards sustainability, I think it's become easier.
Okay. Yeah. What about the rest? Anyone wants to add? Yeah.
I actually think sustainable topic is such a huge topic that it should come to even like being in education system. I mean, like school should be teaching kids on sustainability. I mean, like, you know, that's like a good example. I mean, like there is even more subjects to do it. I mean, like I wish my school teach me how to do tax. You know what I mean? But then again, so we need to educate like the next generation on sustainability. So things are going to change because let's say me and Barang Kencana as the one who is producing, we go based on like what the client is looking for. If the client is going to look for clothes yang, you know, they always say, oh, the fabric doesn't seem too much, but why is it so expensive? So we as the producer have to keep thinking, how do I make my stuff look like it use a lot of fabric and the price is super cheap? So we rely on like a cheaper, low quality fabric and etc. I mean, like it's all come down to like the consumer behavior, like even like the chemical dye and stuff. Like if every consumer says that I only want to buy a natural dye, I believe even bigger brand like Barang Kencana would do like 100% natural dye, right? It's all comes down to the consumer. But then like sustainable, it's been like a topic that everyone closed their eyes on, like, oh, is it that important? I don't really care kind of thing is like, as long as I got my clothes at like the price that I can afford. But then if you educate people since young that the highlight of sustainability is like, it brings like a long way in education. Like, if, I don't know, even make it compulsory. Like you do actually need to pass sustainable topic to be able to go university. I mean, like that could like revolutionize the whole system, you know, the whole industry, the behavior, and the long run, you know what I mean, yeah. Right? I mean, like this is like the movement that we try our best, but then like what could like 5 people, 6 people do like in this whole situation when actually there is a bigger picture that can be addressed with the topic of sustainability. I mean, like that's like the closest I think that we can achieve, which is to get the next generation to do it.
I agree with him, but I do think that everyone can start a movement, no matter how small, because all revolution starts from a small group of like very committed people, right? So I think that's very important to get the ball running. But I think the challenge in Indonesia is that we have PLKJ in our school system, but we don't teach people to think critically to apply that knowledge. For example, we learn in PLKJ that styrofoam is bad, but in school canteens they still use styrofoam. And it's not banned. So I think that there is a missing link between knowledge that's been being pushed with the behavior that is actually being shown, and kids learn through what they see instead of what they hear, right? Yeah. So I think it's also very important in aspect when it comes to education.
The missing gap.
The missing gap, yeah. People just don't connect the dots, gitu.
I also completely agree with both of you guys about education. I was also thinking about that earlier. And I feel like nowadays actually we're living in a world where we're really lucky to have all this access to information at the tip of our fingers. So for instance, online, there's so many different resources and information and research papers that we could actually kind of look into. There's lots of films, there's lots of media. I'm actually also, I got this book from Fashion Revolution. They actually issue a fanzine every year, and in it is a lot of really, really interesting information about how we can become more sustainable, and even information about the kind of more heavy topics about, like, for instance, economy and supply chain. But I feel like those are all parts of information that is really important for us to understand as a consumer. And it all kind of comes back to us as a consumer, because as long as we understand what the value of the clothes is like, I feel like we can actually be, more open and kind of more understanding of why clothes are priced in a certain way, or how the process of clothes is made.
Awesome. So I guess bottom line, we can agree that, like, in order to have this sustainability mindset, it can all starts from us, be it whether we are designer, consumer, or from the government organization, right? So I mean, thank you so much. Discussion here between us is over, but I'm just gonna open up to the floor. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. And don't worry, you can ask in Bahasa Indonesia too. It's totally fine. So anyone? Okay. Can we have a mic? Hi, Tarifa. This lady in front. Can you please tell us your name and then who the questions will be directed to?
Thank you. My name is Poppy Darsono. I just hold the Indonesia Fashion Week. I'm the president of the Indonesia Fashion Week. And also at the same time, I'm the founder of the Indonesia Fashion Designers Associations, about 25 years. So why I'm coming here on Sunday, the family times, but the theme is so trigger me, it's the fashion revolution. So I really would love to know what is it, the young people with the fashion revolution. So why the theme of the Indonesia Fashion Week this year is the cultural identity. So the fashion, specifically from Indonesia, should be also giving a kind of sustainability, not only to the planets, but also to the people who works and live with the product, which is could be in the village, in the mountain, and all over Indonesia. So by transforming the craft to fashion craft, you also give a value added to the products, and by the same time, you also give a better life to those people who works in the village. I think I'm very happy to see all the young people having all these very revolutionary spirits, how to keep the world living together, hand by hand, also at the same time taking care of the planet.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your thought. Do you have any questions for them? Oh, no. Oh, okay, thank you. Just now I saw a hand raised from the back. Can we just pass it to me? Again, tell us your name and who are the questions are intended for.
Hi everyone. I'm Rice, and I'm the founder of Lab Mode Indonesia, which is a platform for all the fashion industry in Indonesia, technically. And one of the solutions I'm trying to give is actually a crowdfunding platform for ready-to-wear, which is it's an ironic thing that ready-to-wear is you have to produce first and sell, but then crowdfunding is something I'm looking forward to. So with a minimum order and people actually putting a pre-order to the design you're going to put, then let's say there's 143 orders, then you're going to produce 843 orders. And I'm working on it. My team is working on it. So we're trying to launch it later this year. So I'd just like to discuss whether that's a possible solution in terms of very conscious shopping and also choosing and also investing on the right product of fashion itself. So you're looking at the price points first, you're doing crowdfunding. It's something like Kickstarter for fashion, rather than you being like, oh my God, there's a sale, and you just shop unconsciously. So, well, Wilson, I'll be talking to you about that too. So you're going to submit one design for me. And then on a personal note, I'd just like to ask Helga and your husband, we can't be hypocrites in terms of sustainability, because fashion is just one entity. We know that people change their phones every year. So I'm just wondering if your husband, what kind of phones does he use? I use my Nokia N95, and my first smartphone was a Note 3 and haven't changed till today. So what other aspects of minimalism that you can actually apply in real life, I suppose, besides fashion, obviously, and food? Thank you.
So you have two questions, right, just now? Yeah. So maybe we can have Wilson to answer here.
Sorry,
Okay. So basically, you're starting a crowdfunding project. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're starting starting a crowdfunding project. So basically, if 140 people actually. Okay. So basically, just like whoever orders it, they get that piece. So it's like pre-order. Movement. So you're asking. I mean, you just want to discuss whether this system works.
Yeah, if it's actually a sustainable solution.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, that's actually one of the a very good point. There's very sustainable to do like a pre-order, which is like what we are doing with the Parang Kencana collaboration. We're actually doing pre-order. We didn't mass produce these products. Actually, people has to order with us. And I think that's like one of a good start when it comes to like being sustainable, because you're actually being very efficient with like the amount of fabric you're using, and then like there is no wastage in it because it's based on the amount of order. And sorry, on that note, I just want to go back to previously. I want to thank Mbak Poppy because actually, after the collaboration with Parang Kencana, one of the new thing there's close to my heart is actually tenun and kain Indonesia. I never used kain Indonesia before ever, and actually this September we are going to do our like fourth or fifth season of our Paris Fashion Week, and I actually I do wanna bring kain Indonesia into like my Paris Fashion Week season collection. And like I want to say thank you to Mbak Poppy, because like I visited EFW recently, and then like there is an ample of supplier of like Indonesian fabric that I could find there, and then I'm very thank you for that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to work with more traditional fabric in the future, I guess. Yeah, sorry for being late with the answer.
Okay. So for Helga?
Yes. Sorry, tadi namanya siapa, Mbak? Mbak Nasi. Rice. Right. Nice name. But so what I do with my husband is that so when we talk about living, there are three things ya: food, clothes, sama apa sih, home ya, basically home care, home living. Sama mungkin di Indonesia transport kali ya. Gitu. Jadi when it comes to food, both me and my husband are vegan. So when we talk about minimalist living, we don't only talk about the things that we physical yang kita lihat di sini, tapi juga when it comes to food production, how much waste that is needed to produce animal products, and that's why we choose plant-based diet, which is most efficient when it comes to energy, land, environmental pollution, gitu. Terus and we always finish our food. Jadi we don't buy food a lot. Jadi maksudnya we really buy things that we really will eat. Jadi kita tuh nggak ada yang lapar mata atau gimana gitu loh. Yang kedua clothes, obviously kan itu yang kita limit banget ya. Dan yang ketiga home living products. Jadi we live in a very space efficient apartment right now. It's a 32 square meters. Bener-bener everything itu bener-bener packed with activities, you know. Bedroom, study room, terus udah gitu kayak sort of living room mixed with kitchen and dining room, semuanya jadi satu space gitu, and it's very lively karena it's a small space with a lot of, cuma 2 orang juga anyway gitu kan, and we're buying a house which is also very space efficient, lahannya cuma 36 meter tapi luas bangunannya 72 meter, and we chose that house karena kita udah pikir nantinya kalau kita punya anak, punya anjing, itu bakal keisi semua. Jadi there will not be empty spaces gitu loh. Sedangkan yang kita lihat kan di sini sekarang many wealthy people kan they buy kayak big houses yang tinggal cuma 4 orang dan banyak banget lahan yang nggak dipakai. Dan kita punya populasi manusia yang banyak banget yang bahkan nggak punya akses ke rumah tinggal yang baik gitu kan. So I think kayak we try to apply that as well ya di situ di space. Terus transport, we don't have cars. Jadi we take public transport as much as possible. Train every day. Kalau misalnya lagi ke tempat di mana harus formal nggak boleh keringetan, Uber atau Grab, Gojek, it's like my savior. Nggak di endorse. Yeah, what else ya? Itu sih sama kita we try to live zero waste lifestyle as much as possible. I'm really still trying. My husband is a lot better than me. Jadi kalau misalnya kita tuh kemana-mana selalu bawa shopping bag yang bisa dilipat-lipat gitu. Jadi benar-benar sedikit nggak pakai plastic bags. Terus kita bawa botol minum sama tempat makan. Jadi kalau beli di abang-abang atau di manapun yang kita harus take away kita pakai itu. Atau kalau ke Burgreens kan obviously kita tahu packagingnya yang udah kita pilih lebih eco-friendly. Jadi kita ya di situ sih lumayan aman gitu ya. Terus sama apa ya? And overall kita sih when we wanna buy things, we ask questions to ourselves gitu. Ini something yang bakal kita pakai berapa lama? Is this really an impulse buying thing atau sesuatu yang kita benar-benar butuhkan gitu? Dan by doing that, it's crazy how many things that we've been consuming before yang sebenarnya kita nggak butuh. Banyak banget baju yang akhirnya 3 tahun lalu aku donasin banyak banget itu karena I bought that when I was still in that teenager mode yang agak-agak galau dan belinya barang-barang yang seasonal gitu kan. Jadi abis pakai 6 bulan terus udah bosen ngendep aja di lemari gitu. Jadi kayaknya those are the things that we do deh. Gitu. Many more things. The minimalist guys in that movie, they're the expert. We're still learning. Gitu.
I can attest. I can confirm the fact that she takes public transportation. Because before I met her, she's like coming and, where you from? Oh, I just got down from Kopaja. I was like, wow, from Bintaro.
Kopaja, no.
You took Kopaja, right?
No.
You didn't take
Itu
Kopaja?
train sama Gojek kali.
Okay, but your house is in Bintaro. BSD. And all the way to Burgreens, like Dharma Wangsa, you can tell
we take
how much
train every
effort.
day.
Yeah. So,
we're train activists.
Yeah. So she's not just saying it, guys. She really does it. Okay, moving on. Anyone else have a question? Okay, this lady over here.
Hi, my name's Renee. I run an Instagram account called Zero Waste World, and I'm also representing an organization in Bantar Gebang called BGBJ. I've got a question about clothes ending up in landfills. As you know, Bantar Gebang is the biggest landfill in Indonesia. Do you recommend any places where we could donate clothes that we don't want to wear anymore? And what are some tips on how to divert clothes away from landfills and put them back into use when we're finished with them?
So this is open for everyone? Okay.
I think like one of like the good start is with school. You know what I mean? I mean like the whole recycling thingy could start with school. I mean like a lot of clothes could be used by students to experiment and etc. And of course when you're donating, I see a certain pattern when it comes to donating. There are some people who is donating just to get rid of the stuff. Some people are actually really donating because like when you really want to donate, you just want to make sure that the clothes is like donatable, not like something you treat like a trash. And like I think like a good start is school. I mean like back when I was still in school, it's quite difficult for me to find like used clothes to experiment, like because we do have like classes like deconstruction and etc. I think like working with school, that's one. And then like it comes back to like the durability of the clothes and then the value. If you spend like really small amount of money, it's easier for your mind to get rid of the clothes instead of like you will never throw away like a Gucci jacket, let's say. Like even like after 50 years, you kind of go like, oh, I rather sell it in a vintage shop, or I would rather give it to like my kids. So it also comes back to value, because like if I'm just gonna spend like $20 on like a shirt, like I could easily think of throwing it. I mean, like when it's missing from the laundry, I don't even think about it. So it comes back to the value and the quantity, like I said, because like the fashion industry is it's so dark in a way that everyone is so greedy. You hear minimum everywhere you go. As my journey in the fashion industry, it's all about minimum, making shoes, making clothes. You hear minimum all the time. So the minimum is one of the biggest problem. You know what I mean? Like to produce a clothes in a factory to get the cheapest price, the minimum is actually 1,000 piece, like just for an article. I mean, like, that is how crazy it is. How are you gonna sell that 1,000 piece? Either I sell it or I throw it away.
Okay, thank you. I mean, you raise a very important point. Like, it's not that we as a fashion designer, you want to produce less, but when it goes to the manufacturer, there's a minimum quota of how much can be produced, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And I mean, like, school are not exactly introducing these students. These students are like babies, you know. They do not have networks. I mean, like, school is just teaching you. I mean, like, I think school could do so much better by like introducing them to manufacture. I'm talking about fashion school and art schools. I mean, like, getting them ready for the outside world. I mean, like, to be honest, for the very first time of my for my label, I actually did produce it with some confeksi. I mean, like, it's the price is not exactly friendly. I mean, like, it's still the same price as my current production, and then the quality was so bad I didn't want to sell the clothes. And there's like 300 overclothes that I have to recycle one by one. Until now I'm not even done with it, you know what I mean, because project keeps coming. I mean, like, I think school could introduce the students to suppliers and then like fabric, because when I get out of school, I do not know anyone. I don't even know editor. No one is helping me. You're really outside by your own. I mean, like, I could get my hand into a few students, like maybe my interns or like students that actually talk to me and ask me questions. I could introduce them, could help them a little bit, but how about the rest of the 20, 30 to even hundreds of students that you can't get your hand on them?
Okay, so I mean, like, do you guys have a specific organization, like, when it comes to donating clothes that you guys trust? Like,
can I?
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing the donation. I want to share, there is somebody, it's about the donation. There's somebody I think in New York. He donated his backpack into a donation center. And months forward, someone in Africa tweet picked the image to the world, and that somebody in New York saw the timeline and said, "Oh my God, that is my bag that's being donated." So what happened is we have to be careful, not careful in a way that we are picky or something that we judge the people by being sort of like using the advantage of being a donation or a gift-giving kind of situation. What we at the Fashion Revolution is we have a mindset like 6 degrees of separation, right? Like a 6 degree of separation in the bag donation, 6 degree of separation on food donation. So that's why we have our mindset that transparency is like a way, so we can see how long the degree of separation between the farmers into the consumers, and how long the degree between the bags that we donated or food or clothes is it true that the donation is going to the right person, or maybe some organization being fraudulent to resell it back into another world. So that kind of the education things that we at Fashion Revolution will be happy to share with you our paradigm on having like a 6-degree separation on anything. Thank you.
So we can check that out in the website too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also,
Yep.
let me add something. If you see in a if you see in a supermarket, sometimes they do sell like a food mat where it's made by recycled clothes also. But then like I believe the amount of people who wants to do it is getting lesser, because like that food mat it's like I don't know, like $3, and then like they took like the whole day to do it. Perhaps if we can push towards that direction and maybe be like the trendsetter of wearing a recycled clothes, because like I look at Bangkok, I look at other Southeast Asia country. I mean like recycled clothes is actually a trend, but in Indonesia recycled clothes isn't a trend at all. I mean like the moment someone's wearing recycled clothes, you judge them as like, who's that crazy person? You know what I mean? But then like in Bangkok, recycling clothes is actually a huge thing. I mean like I did it once, didn't work out. So I think it's also like it comes back to like the trendsetter. You know what I mean? Yeah.
The influencers need to start the movement.
Exactly. Yeah, we do need the influencer and like yeah.
Or we can start from ourselves.
Yeah. We can start
Yeah.
with ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, you want to say something? You added something?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add in terms of making sure that maybe clothes don't end up in trash or wherever. There's actually a couple of other things that we could also do. So for instance, even when my team and I were thinking about doing an event or an activity for Fashion Revolution this year, we were toying with the idea of either maybe doing an upcycling workshop or a swap party. So as you know, with an upcycling workshop, you can bring in your kind of old clothes, and then a designer or someone else who can sew or whatever can help bring ideas on how to make it even newer. So instead of, I understand that you get bored of your clothes quite easily, especially with trends happening, but upcycling is a way for you to be able to kind of bring new life into the clothes that you have. And with swap parties, this is actually quite interesting, and I don't think it's happened quite often in Indonesia yet, but it's an activity where you could start small. You could bring a couple of your friends, and you can ask them to each bring a couple of clothes that they might not be using anymore, and then you just swap. So you just kind of take, like for instance, if we did a swap party, then you could bring some clothes and I'll bring some clothes, and then maybe I could take one from you and from you and you. And so the clothes actually get another life. And I think that's actually a quite fun way, and it doesn't cost any money. So, you're not paying for extra. But that could be an idea. Maybe we could do another swap party.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
And Amsterdam is pretty big.
Yes, exactly, in Amsterdam, around Europe.
Okay, I think we can have one more question. Yep.
As a designers, of course, we have all the facilities to reshape or to transform one clothes, which is already probably 30 years, but I only wore it 2 or 3 times. Yeah, and the fabric is so beautiful, and then probably nowadays they are not producing anymore. So what I do, I change the style. So I cut again, you see, and then you change the style, according to the materials that could be still doing it. And then when you wear it, you feel like you have a new clothes. You see, so I did it many times. Sometimes people, why do you do that? I mean, that looks, the textile is giving so much pollution to the earth. So I think by doing it, you love your planet. Yep. You see, so you also teach your people that don't throw away the things so easily, because each time the textile is being made, and then you give pollutions to the earth. I think this is my experience, that especially the designer, you can always do that. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a question. You have a question? Yeah. So we have one time for one more question.
Saya bahasa Indonesia aja ya.
No worries.
Saya itu bekerja dengan masyarakat di Aceh.
Sorry, can you tell us your name?
Nama saya Yuni.
Yuni,
saya seorang sociopreneur di Aceh basisnya. Kemudian juga salah satu produknya adalah fashion. Mendengar ini jadi aduh. Karena di Aceh itu kalau songket atau tenun ya bisa berbahan yang slow fashion atau yang tidak merusak alam sebagainya.
Tapi masyarakat di sana juga ingin berpakaian tradisional. Ketika menghadapi itu, berarti kita harus menghadapi fakta bahwa harganya harus apa? Ya, iya. Itu bagaimana pengalaman Mas William dan mungkin saran dari, ya. Karena di sana juga ada kerajinan namanya kerawang. Itu silk yang bisa kalau kita ambil dari alam, yang bagus yang itu. Tapi benangnya, ya masih yang. Memang sama, membutuhkan waktu lama untuk kerawang itu seperti menyongketnya ya, ininya ya. Ya.
Jadi maksudnya
bagaimana menghadapi itu, karena di satu sisi untuk kalangan menengah ke atas mungkin bisa membeli dengan harga yang mahal dan menunggu. Bagaimana kalau masyarakat umum juga pun ingin berpakaian dan tradisional.
So for the benefit of everyone, I'm just translate. So for Bu Yuni, her question is that like for fabric like songket, it takes a lot of time and it will cost more. Maybe people from middle class and up can afford it, but what about the people who can't afford this but they want to get it onto this movement of being sustainable in terms of like the traditions and stuff like that? So yeah.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so sorry, the second one, saya mau tanya dengan Mas Iman, how to educate the grassroots level is about awareness on tentang sustainability fashion ya. Karena ada tadi terkait dengan itu tadi, dengan ada kalangan yang aduh susah amat ya gitu. Ya, thank you.
So who would like to answer the first question about the
I think I go back to the fabric part. Bahasa Indonya atau Inggris aja ya? Inggris aja. Okay. So I was looking for supplier for the tenun, and then like when I went to the area where they sell tenun a lot, like all of them were doing cotton because like it's so much cheaper. But I was looking for silk until I found EFW, of course. Then I found the silk supplier. I think like a lot of things are like the failure. There's a lot of failure in like expansion, as in like. I bet there's a lot, but I don't know where about. You know what I mean? I think in the end of the day, there are people that needs to help this artisan who create this beautiful fabric to let people know, hey, this is actually available, of course. And then like I think mixing is also like another solution, like maybe silk and viscose. I know it's gonna sound like a bit, like you rather pure silk, but then like I think. Getting the information, maybe like EFW could help with the expansion, of course. And then like that's also one of the main the main thing to do today is that connecting people together, right? So I think that's a good start. One of a good solution is networks.
Okay, so moving on to Mas Iman.
Bu Yuni. For us at Fashion Revolution, once again, that we provide tools and services, right? We have many tools to reach from the bottom to the top pyramid for just an illustration. Right? We have a tools like a toolkit for the students. So we have a volunteer section that how students could get involved at our Fashion Revolution ambassador all over the world. So that's one of the part that the student will be given books and also all the materials that they can share with peers in the classroom or with the teachers or with their peers in the neighborhoods. And we also have tools like a blogging platform, blogging site that the title is Meet the Makers, Meet the Designers, so or meet the tukang jahit gitu. So seperti itu. That will be outreach very easily and very massive widely if the 6 degree of separation is being used. Let's say for example, maybe one time Wilson will go to Aceh, and that's the viral spread on the tools of having a student ambassador will be let's say will be engaged by Wilson. So it must be true that this kind of the movement let's say for the greater benefit to protecting the earth, right? All of us, not only for the garment industry, and also protecting the people that live on earth. Yeah, I don't want to go soon to the Mars. So let's be on Earth for a while. So that's why we provide the tools for people to reach the many degrees that people want to get connected. So for say that we don't want to depend on the social media startups or social media giant to reach to the people in Aceh, Bu. So let's go collaborate that. We at Fashion Revolution we provide all the tools, all the materials from the written fact. We have many facts about the environmental impact and social and human impact. Also we have a book. The book we have the students kit, we have the partnership with the filmmakers that can be shown in, let's say di kelurahan gitu, for example di desa gitu, for example untuk 17-an ya showing the movie lah, the true cost and something like that and for the business part there is the best understanding from us Fashion Revolution that we want people keep buying clothes. We don't want to boycott any brands, regardless their transparency or opacity of disclosing their manufacturing tiers or the degrees of their separation from farmers to the consumers. That's why one of the big problem is how to make people could afford to buy like exquisite or something exotic product like yours, Bu. So yeah, let's do something. Maybe one of you have a platform for like a marketplace or a crowdfunding style. Yeah, from my own perspective personally, I have a startups. That's one of the key on the startups is to create a market design. So basically, this is my personal opinion on to answer your problem. In the market design, in the startup worlds, there is a word who gets what and when. So from who we got the fabric, in what way they source it or produce it, and when we want to get this fabric right. So there's something that many manufacturers that could be considered that the timing of having the products, let's say, if it's something that very close to your factory, the regular people, even though the workers, how might them get the like harga pabrik lah gitu, harga pabrik for the clothes. So the when factor is very important. That's kind of thing. That's way. Somebody has to dig on it for sure.
Okay.
Mau nambahin ide ya. Jadi pertanyaan Mbak nih ngingetin aku sama two companies that are founded by my friends. Buat educate orang-orang lokal gitu ya. I think we need to educate them from two perspectives. First, negative impact that will directly impact them by doing certain things. Terus yang kedua, kasih mereka insentif untuk doing the right thing gitu. Kayaknya itu ilmu HR juga di mana-mana ya gitu. Jadi one company, one startup that my friend has, dia itu punya chocolate company. Terus they work with the farmers directly in Lampung, dan mereka itu memberikan insentif untuk farmers yang nggak ngelakuin irresponsible actions towards the environment where they grow the chocolate gitu. Dan kalau misalnya mereka ketahuan ngelakuin irresponsible actions, they will get bukan fine sih, tapi kayak pengurangan bonus gitu loh. Same thing with this fashion brand, namanya Sukacita. Mereka itu responsible company, you might have been in touch with them. Mereka itu nge-educate si ibu-ibu, kan they work with rural artisans. Mereka educate ibu-ibu itu untuk tidak membuang atau tidak melakukan first membuang sampah atau polutan langsung ke laut, ke sungai, karena mereka lihat deh, kamu buang ke sungai ini pakai mandi sama orang-orang kampungmu, airnya habis itu dimasak buat makanan, dan mereka benar-benar dibikinin presentasi tentang bahayanya kalau misalnya certain chemicals are eaten by these people gitu. Dan itu kita jelasin dengan bahasa yang mereka mudah mengerti dan kasih tahu juga if you don't do certain things, actually you will save a lot of money kan cost of healthcare nggak murah gitu kan, especially in that rural area gitu. Terus yang kedua, kalau misalnya mereka membeli barang-barang yang lebih quality, lebih durable, in the long run mereka bakal save a lot of money gitu. Jadi kita harus kasih kayak edukasi yang punya direct impact ke mereka gitu loh, dan kita tahu lah mereka tuh apa sih yang mereka pikirin, pertama ekonomi, kedua family gitu. Jadi kita harus kayak kasih taunya dari dua aspek itu menurutku.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, can we have?
Oh, sorry. Okay, Ibu Yani, probably what you have to do is you have to make your community development. If you want to wear fashion, because you cannot afford something that expensive from outside of Aceh, so we better do it. I remember when Guru Soekarno, they make this, what is the name of his dancing and Suara Mahardika. All the dancers, they do everything by themselves. They put the payet by themselves, they do everything. So you have to do it. And they would feel even greater when they wear something out of their made. So you have this sulaman, yeah, something like it from Aceh, because Aceh used to have the branch of APPMI there, but only a few peoples, and then I think your local government banned for fashion, something like that. So the member of Aceh, they join in Medan, you see. So that's why the fashion activity is very quiet at the moment. But please do your community development and then teach them. I mean, APPMI could help you in order to give advice and everything, because we still have the member of APPMI in Aceh who can. But I think being swadaya, being self-sustained, you can do it. You see. So,
thank you so much for your input. So okay, sorry. Well, we'd like to take in more questions, but that's all the time we have. But don't worry, after this, you can go directly straight away from to our speakers to ask questions. I mean, like, you can ask Helga what product she's using, or you can ask Wilsen if you're gonna start a new label, what to keep in mind of. So I hope you guys learned something important, useful today. As of course, all of I do. I hope you guys too, even though you guys are speakers here. And if you guys want to share this discussion with your friends, next week from April 23rd onward, just follow British Council Instagram and Fashion Revolution Instagram. We will upload this conversation on the web. So that's all the time we have for today. So feel free to mingle around. We have tea and we have some snacks for you to enjoy. So thank you so much once again. Thank you.